Welcome back, students. So, last class we have started the basic introduction of logic families. Today we will study one of the logic family called TTL NAND gate. But before we start, let us get familiarized with what are the different kinds of logic families are there. So, many logic families have been developed so far. They are resistor logic or RTL. We have direct coupled transistor logic, DCTL. We have diode transistor logic, DTL. We have high threshold logic, HTL. We have transistor logic, TTL, which we're gonna study here. Then we have emitter coupled logic, ECL. We have integrated injection logic, IL or I square L. We have MOSFET. But the basic function of any type of this logic family is always the same regardless of the circuit technology used. The TTL and CMOS are suitable for SSI and MSI. SSI means small scale integration and MSI is medium scale integration. While the MOS and CMOS are particularly suitable for LSI. And I square L or integrated injection logic is mainly suitable for VLSI and ULSI or ultra large scale integrated circuit. So if we compare the different kinds of logic families, we can see here we have compared TTL, ECL, MOS, CMOS and I square L. So you can see there is so all these terms, propagation time, delay time, power dissipation per gate, noise margin, fan in, fan out, all these terms we are already familiarized, right? We are already familiarized with all these terms. Now, based on these parameters, we need to understand whether which logic family is performing better than the other. See here, my propagation delay time, obviously it should be low. Then only my circuit will operate faster, right? Power dissipation per gate also should be low. Noise margin, what about the noise margin? Noise margin, how can I define the noise margin? So noise margin should be, you can see how it is varying, 0.4 for this TTL, 0.25 for this ECL, 1.5 for this MOS, and 5 for CMOS, and 0.35 for this I square L. So noise margin should be high, always should be high. A higher noise margin means that a circuit is more robust and less susceptible to noise interference. That means we are gonna get more reliable operation. Then what about this fan in and fan out? Fanning of a circuit should be low, while this fan out should be high. A low fan in means it minimizes the complexity of a logic gate and it makes easier to design and analyze. While if your fan out is high, it will allow a single gate output to drive multiple inputs and it will reduce the need for extra buffering and simplifying the overall circuit. And obviously the cost should be low, right? Now we will jump to today's topic, which is 2-input TTL NAND gate. So before we jump on this is the 2-input TTL NAND gate circuit. So before we jump, first let us understand what is TTL, why we call a TTL. This transistor is so named because of its dependence of transistors alone to perform the basic logic operations. And it is the most popular logic family and most widely used also. And this TTL, it uses transistors operating in the saturation mode, which is very important. And it is the fastest of the saturated logic families. The basic TTL logic circuit is the NAND gate. So why we are using this TTL? It has good speed, low manufacturing cost, wide range of circuits, and the availability in small scale integration and medium scale integration. Now, if we have already seen the specification of this TTL, that means the propagation time, delay, power dissipation per gate, noise margin, fan in, fan out, and the cost, right? So now let us understand the circuit operation. So for a standard TTL, 0 volt to 0.8 volt is treated as logic 0, while 2 volt to 5 volt is treated as logic 1. So the signals that fall between 0.8 volt to 0.2 volt, it should not be applied as input, as a corresponding response will be indeterminate. Okay, so if there is any terminal that is open in TTL, that means it is equivalent to connecting it to something high, that means 5 volt. Okay, but this kind of practice is definitely not recommended, since the floating TTL is extremely susceptible to picking up noise signals and it can adversely affect your circuit. So in the circuit, what we can see, in this circuit we have 4 transistors, Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4. Okay, so this Q1 is a multiple emitter transistor. Why we are calling it as a multiple emitter? Because it has 2 emitter terminals. This Q2 is a phase splitter. What is phase splitter? If you apply a single input to a phase splitter circuit, it will generate 2 outputs. Those 2 output signals are equal in magnitude, but they are opposite in phase. Now, this transistor Q3, it sits above. You can see this transistor Q3, it sits above the transistor Q4. Okay, and it is making a totem pole arrangement. And these diodes, diode D1 and diode D2, they are present to protect this transistor Q1 from being damaged by the negative spikes of the input voltages. Okay. Now, when the negative spikes appear at the input of this Q1 transistor, the diodes D1 and D2, they conduct and bypass the spikes to the ground. And this diode D, it ensures that the transistors Q3 and Q4, they don't conduct simultaneously. And this transistor Q3 acts as emitter follower. Emitter follower circuit, we take the output from the emitter terminal, and the output from the emitter and the input base, they are almost equal. And the emitter follower circuit, it has high input impedance and low output impedance. So now, when both these inputs A and B are high, that means 5 volt, what will happen then? The base emitter junction of this Q1 will be reverse biased. So no current flows to the emitter of Q1, but the collector base junction of this Q1 is forward biased. So a current flows through this R1 to the base of this Q2, and Q2 turns on. Right? Now current from this Q2's emitter, it flows to the base of this transistor Q4. So this Q4 is now turned on. And the collector current of this transistor Q2, it flows through R2. So it will produce some voltage drop across this resistor R2, right? And if there is a voltage drop across this resistor R2. So it will reduce the voltage at the collector of this transistor Q2. And the collector of this transistor Q2, we can see it is directly connected to the base of transistor Q3. So it will make Q3 off. Since Q4 is on and the output, which is called V0, it is at low level, which we are calling VCE SAT. So the output is a logic 0. Now, so first case, what we have considered, both the inputs A and B are high. Now, when either of this A and B or both are low, what will happen? The corresponding base emitter junction of this transistor, what will happen? It will be forward biased, and the collector base junction of this transistor Q1 will be reverse biased. So the current flows to the ground through the emitter of this transistor Q1. So the base of this Q1 is at 0.7 volt, and it is, so since the base is 0.7 volt, it can't forward bias the base emitter junction. It can't forward bias this base emitter junction of the transistor Q2. So Q2 remains turned off. Since Q2 is off, Q4, it doesn't get the required base drive. So Q4 is also off. Now this transistor Q3, it gets enough base drive because Q2 is off. That is, since no current flows into the collector of this transistor Q2, and all the current flows into the base of this transistor Q3, and therefore Q3 is on, right? The flow, like the output voltage, this output voltage, if you apply a KVL, how you will calculate the output voltage? V0 will be VCC minus the current is flowing like this, VCC minus VR2 minus VBE3 minus VD. That is my output voltage, and you can find it is falling between that 2 volt to 5 volt. That means logic high level. Okay. So the circuit acts as a 2-input NAND gate. Okay. So when Q4 is off, no current flows through it, but so we have seen, right? When Q4 is off, no current flows through it, but the stray circuit acts as, but the stray and the output capacitances between the two output terminal, that is the collector of this Q4 and the ground, gets charged to this voltage. Okay, and so this Q3 and Q4, they are arranged in a totem pole fashion. Okay, now what is this totem pole output? Why we have to arrange this Q3 and Q4 in this fashion? We can see that the transistor Q3 sits above Q4, okay? And at any time, only one of these transistor is conducting. Both cannot be on or off simultaneously, and this diode D ensures this. So if Q4 is on, that means its base is at 0.7 volt with respect to the ground, right? And Q4, it gets the base drive from this transistor Q2. So when Q4 is on, Q2 has to be on. Therefore, its collector to emitter voltage, VCE SAT, is 0.3 volt. Now, we have seen that VBE3, this VBE3, which is equals to VC2. VC2 is the collector voltage of this transistor Q2, equals to this base voltage of this transistor Q3, which is equals to 0.7 plus 0.3 volt, which is 1 volt, right? Now, if for Q3 to be on, if I want to make the Q3 on, the base emitter junction must be forward biased, right? And when Q4 is on, B has to be on, right? For Q3 to be on simultaneously. So the base voltage of this Q3 must be equals to, if you calculate the base voltage of Q3, which is equals to VBE3, which is equals to VCE4, VBE3 equals to VCE4, collector emitter voltage of this Q4 transistor, which is in saturation, plus this VD plus VBE3, base emitter voltage of this Q3 transistor. So VCE4 is, if you take the sum of all these VCE4, VD and VBE3, that means 0.7 plus 0.3 plus 0.7 volt. Okay, that means 1.7 volt for it to be on. Since VBE3 is only 1 volt, right? When Q4 is on, so Q3 can't be on, and hence we can conclude that Q3 and Q4 can't be conducted simultaneously. So what are the advantages of this totem pole? So even though this circuit can work with this Q3 and this D removed and R4 connected directly to the collector of this Q4, with Q3 in the circuit there is no current through R4 in the output low state. Okay, so the inclusion of this Q3 and this diode D keeps the circuit power dissipation low. Also, when my output is high, this Q3 acts as an emitter follower, and we know for an emitter follower circuit the output impedance is low. So this low output impedance provides a small time constant for charging up any capacitive load in the output, and this action is commonly referred to as active pull-up, and it provides very fast rise time and waveforms at TTL output. Okay, but there are some disadvantages of this totem pole arrangement also. When the output makes a transition from this low to high, this Q4, it turns off more slowly than Q3 turns on. So there is a period of few nanoseconds during which both Q3 and Q4 are conducting, and therefore relatively large currents will be drawn from the supply. So the TTL circuits, they will suffer from internally generated current transients or current spikes because of the totem pole connection. Another disadvantage is totem pole outputs cannot be wire ANDed. We will see what is wire AND connection. That is, output from a number of gates cannot be tied together to obtain the AND operation of those outputs. Okay. Now, this Q4 is the current sinking transistor or the pull down transistor, because it brings the output voltage down to low state. We have seen when Q4 is on, my output is low. This Q3 is called the current sourcing transistor or the pull-up transistor, because it pulls up output to the high state. Now, what is TTL loading and fan out? We will see that. So TTL output has a limit, which is IOL max. What is IOL? Which is the low level output current, right? On how much current it can sink in a low state, and a limit, IOH. What is IOH? IOH is a high level output current. So if you want to determine the fan out, we have to use this relation. High state fan out is IOH max by IIH. What is IIH? High level input current. And low state fan out is IOL max by IIL. What is IIL? IIL is low state input current. Okay. suppose, let's say this Q4, we have seen Q4 is a current sinking transistor, right? So Q4, let's say, just for an example, let's say Q4 can sink up to 16 milliamp, 16 milliampere, because its output reaches, let's say, 0.4 volt, and we have seen from 0 to 0.88, in that range the output remains logic 0 for TTL. That was the assumption we have started with, right? Now let's say the IIL, which is my low level input current, is 1.6 milliampere. That means this transistor Q4 can sink the current from up to 16 by 1.6, which is 10 loads, and it is connected to more than 10 loads. This VOL, that means VOL is low level output voltage. This output voltage increases above 0.4 volts, so the noise margin is reduced to noise margin will be reduced, and this VOL, it can even go to the intermediate state. What is that? Between 0.8 volt to 2 volt, right? Now, if my TTL output is at high state, this Q3 transistor is acting as an emitter follower, right? That means sourcing a total current IOH, which is high level output current, and which is the sum of the IH, which is the high level input current from different TTL inputs. So if too many loads are being driven, the current IOH, that means high state output current, will become, this high state output current will become large enough to cause a large voltage drop across this resistor R2. Okay, 2, and what will be the VOH in that case? VOH will be, if you apply the KVL, VCC minus VR2 minus VBE3 minus VD. Okay, so that means if too many loads are being driven, the current, output high current, will become large enough, and it will cause a large voltage drop across this R2, and it will bring this high state output voltage below its minimum value. Okay, and this is undesirable because it reduces the high state noise margin, and it could even cause the VOH to go to the intermediate state, right? Now, if my Q3, it can source, let's say, 0.4 milliamps of current before this VOH, high state output current, falls below its minimum value, and each load, if receives a high state input current of this, let's say, 40 microampere, that means Q3, this can source up to 0.4 milliamps by 40 microamps, right? That means 10 loads, right? Now we shall move on to this next part, which is open collector gates. So we can see this circuit has been modified than the ideal 2-input TTL NAND gate. So TTL gates, it may have the totem pole output. Totem pole output means that Q3 and Q4, they are connected in the totem pole fashion. And in this open collector TTL, what we can see is that the output at the collector of this Q4, nothing is connected to it. Okay, that means the pull-up transistors Q3 and the diode D of the totem pole outputs are omitted. Okay, that is why we are calling it as a open collector. The open collector inverter circuit is shown in this diagram, and in order to get the proper logic high and low levels out of this circuit, an external, you can see, if you come to this figure B, an external pull-up transistor is connected to this VCC or supply voltage. Okay, so and it is connected to the collector of this Q4. Now, when this transistor Q4 is off, this output is pulled up to the VCC. When this transistor Q4, which is on, the output is pulled up to the, when this transistor Q4 is off, the output is pulled to VCC, okay, through this resistor R. And when Q4 is on, the output connected to near ground to the saturated transistor, okay. And this value R must be, you have to choose R in such a way that when one gate output goes low while the others are high, and the sink current be so chosen that when one gate output goes low while the sink current must be, you have to choose the sink current in such a way through the low output so that it doesn't exceed the IOL max. That means lower value of the maximum value of the low level output current. Okay, since the output is pulled up to the logic high level through this external resistor R, it is called the passive pull up. And this open collector arrangement, it is much slower than the previous what we have seen, the totem pole arrangement, because the time constant with which the load capacitance charges in this case, it is very high. Okay, because and in case of totem pole, it is active pull up. We have seen the Q3 transistor, it is acting as the pull up transistor. Okay, and the on resistance of the Q3 transistor in that totem pole arrangement is very small. So the charging time constant is low and the output rises fast. And the speed can be increased only a little bit if you choose a smaller resistance in this case. Okay, so for this reason, open collector circuits should not be used in applications where switching speed is a principal consideration. And the traditional symbols for logic circuits with open collector outputs are same as those for the totem pole outputs. Now we will see another operation which is called the wired AND operation. Okay, so sometimes the output of the number of these NAND gates may have to be ANDed. Okay, and this can be achieved by two or more NAND gates that you can see in this figure A. And the same logic operation can be performed by simply tying the outputs of the NAND gate 1, 2 and 3. These are all NAND gates, right? And this is called the, all these NAND gates output, they are, this NAND gate output 1, 2 and 3, they are wired ANDed. Okay, so because the, here you are getting the AND operation by simply connecting the output wires together. You just have connected the all the outputs of these NAND gates together. And with this, when any of the gate output, suppose if any of the NAND gate output goes to a low state, the common output point also goes to the low state as a result of its shorting to ground through the on transistor, right? Now, the common output will be, these output, the common output will be in high state only when, this common output will be in high state only when the all the gate outputs are high state. And but this arrangement has Why we are using it? It must be having some advantage, that it needs fewer gates compared to the conventional arrangement. Compared to this conventional arrangement, this circuit, it needs a fewer gate. Okay. So we have seen the totem pole arrangement. This totem pole arrangement, it can't be wired ANDed, because when one output is high and the other is low, and if they are wired ANDed, what will happen? A large current will flow from the supply to ground. If you remember this transistor Q3, this is the totem pole arrangement, right? So if when one output is high and other output is low, and if they are wired ANDed, what will happen? A large current will flow from the supply to the ground through this Q3, Q3 of the high state and Q4 of the low state. This is because Q4 of this low state, it acts as a very low resistance load on this Q3. I repeat once again, these totem pole outputs cannot be wired ANDed, because when one output is high and the other is low, and if they are wired ANDed, a large current will flow from the supply to the ground through this Q3 of the high state gate and Q4 of the low state gate, because the Q4 of the low state gate acts as a very low resistance load on this Q3 of the high state gate, and these large currents can easily damage any of these transistors, and this situation is even worse when more than two TTL outputs are tied together. So the open collector gates, on the other hand, may be wired ANDed without any problem. Right? Now we have tri-state TTL or three-state TTL. So in the tri-state TTL, it is having some advantage of high speed of operation of totem pole circuit. Also, wire ANDing of the open collector configuration is possible here. It is called the tri-state TTL because it allows three possible output states. One is high, another one is low, and another one is a high impedance or high Z state. In the high Z state, both the transistors Q3 and Q4 are turned off, so that the output terminal is a high impedance to go to ground or VCC. Okay. So in fact, the output is an open or floating terminal. Okay. So that is neither low or high. In practice, the output terminal, so in this high Z state, both the transistors in the totem pole arrangement are turned off. That means the output terminal is a high impedance to ground or the VCC, and the output is open or floating terminal, that is neither low or a high state. So if the output terminal is not exactly an open circuit but has a resistance of several megohm or more relative to ground and VCC. Okay. So here in this figure you can see a tri-state inverter. The tri-state operation, this circuit has been obtained by modifying the basic totem pole arrangement that you have already seen, and this circuit has two inputs. This A is a normal logic input and this E is the enable input, and this E, it produces the high Z. Okay, and the traditional symbol is shown in this figure. Okay, now When this E equals to 1, the circuit operates as a normal inverter, because if you give a high voltage at E, then it has no effect on these transistor Q1 or Q2. Okay. In this enabled condition, the output is simply the inversion of this logic input A. Next is the disabled state, the high Z state. When your E is 0, what will happen? The circuit will go to the high Z state, regardless of what input you are giving at A. Now, the low, because we have applied 0 at E, right? The low at this E, it will forward bias the emitter base junction of this transistor Q1, and it will shunt the current R1 away from this transistor Q2 so that Q2 is turned off. If Q2 is turned off, then Q4 will be turned off, because the emitter of Q2 is connected to the base of Q4. And the low at this E, it also forward biases this diode D1, okay, in order to shunt the current away from this base of this transistor Q3. So this Q3 is also turned off. When both these totem pole transistors Q3 and Q4 is in the non-conducting state, the output terminal is essentially an open circuit.